Hey everybody, and welcome to my second Transformers review here on my Daily Motion channel. Last time I reviewed animated Black Arachnia, who has since been customized. Like, she has new forearms and she's been somewhat repainted. And like I said at the end of the Black Arachnia review, the next figure that I was going to review is the one that we're looking at right here. This is Transformers The Last Night, Premier Edition, Deluxe Class, Hot Rod. And immediately we have a pretty big problem. It's more like not Rod, am I right? Yeah, as far as Hot Rod figures go, as far as Hot Rod designs go, this one is actually kind of terrible because it doesn't look like Hot Rod. Yeah, he's a pretty sleek car, but he's a Lamborghini Centenario. Let me just turn him this way so you can actually see the nose a bit better. In fact, even though it's fairly light outside, I'm sorry, I'm going to turn on the yellowish light of my desk lamp. I'm very sorry for this. But yeah, not Rod. If anything, I actually quite often said that this design would work pretty well for an official Movieverse version of Wildrider. And you want to know what's crazy? Even though this is a pretty good representation of Hot Rod in the Last Night movie, the color scheme isn't 100% accurate. I mean, the black is there, but the secondary color is red, even though it was actually orange in the film. Because of the particular copy they used of the car. You know, like I said, he's a Lamborghini Centenario, which is a very, which is a pretty damn rare supercar that's based on the Lamborghini Aventador. We'll kind of get to why this is also actually kind of a little bit of a fun thing that, yeah, this is actually a fairly fun coincidence that I will mention a little later, but yeah. See, the car rolls well. You got a nice little Lamborghini logo tampographed here on the nose. So that's looking pretty good. Minimal paint. I mean, but there's some red here, which may turn up like orange on the viewfinder on my camera, but trust me, in person it is definitely red, even though it should be orange, but whatever. A nice sculpting on the wheels, even having little shields there that kind of look like the Lamborghini logo. So, you know, that's actually kind of nice. Pretty cool detailing here around the back. But it's all just sculpted, and I actually had to do a bit of kit bashing to make the figure fit together a bit better. Because I got a mint in box actually, but transforming him into car mode the first time was a bit of a pain, and I already had to cut a few tabs, sadly, just to make sure that they would actually fit together better. So that's something to look out for. Like, the main problem I have right now still is here on the left hand side of the nose, that this piece here near the front wheel on the left side, that won't tab in as well as it can into the nose shell here, so you can kind of see a bit of a gap here. Whereas on the other side, it actually flows together a bit better. Here, it just kind of likes to stick up for whatever reason. It does have a silver Autobot logo that's actually remarkably well painted, despite being on somewhat of an angled surface. And here he is next to Bumblebee. He's, I mean, not Rod is longer, but he's also not as tall. But whatever. Now, the fun thing about him, now like I said, the vehicle mode, again, Lamborghini Centenario. The real car is actually somewhat based on the Lamborghini Aventador. The fun thing with this figure is that the fun thing with this figure for Hot Rod from the Last Night, again, this is his Premier Edition Deluxe figure. This is actually a very heavy retooling of the Deluxe Class Lockdown figure. So yeah, this was retooled from Lockdown, specifically his deluxe figure from the Age of Extinction Generations toy line. And guess what? In the Age of Extinction movie, Lockdown's car mode is a Lamborghini Aventador. It's actually kind of funny. So this figure kind of continues that trend, you know? It actually... It's actually a little bit representative of a bit of real-world evolution in the automobile industry. So that's actually kind of fun. But yeah, the transformation is more or less the same as with Lockdown. Let's start by taking out... Yeah. Pop off the sides here, and then take the rear sections here, you know, here with these ridges. Some of these were actually supposed to be the tail lights, but you fold them over the rear wheels. And you pull them out somewhat. And then we come to the nose of the car. We disconnect this center portion, which doesn't lock in, but it just slides in with the paint providing quite a bit of friction. So we take all that, we lift all that away. Actually going to raise my tripod legs. Well, not raise them, I'm going to extend them. There we go. Yeah, the lower body and legs fold out from underneath the nose of the car. So there we go. Basically, like, very little is actually reused from Lockdown. Like, the lower legs and feet are about it. And maybe some of this strut work here on the inside, but most of him is actually brand new sculpting. God damn it, may have to actually back up, and I don't have that much room because I actually have my keyboard behind the camera. Some people said, oh, you should get a backdrop so we don't have to look at your monitor. Here's the problem, I don't have room for a backdrop, so the monitor it is. So yeah, but yeah, now that we got this going on, we rotate this whole unit 180 degrees on this mushroom swivel. There's another little annoyance. The door window from the right hand side likes to jump from underneath the roof, and yes, I clipped those tabs too. But yeah, you take the windshield, then this little piece of the nose, and you tuck it onto the roof. But yeah, now we bend everything down and kind of collapse it onto the back. There we go. We take what's left of the nose of the car and actually telescope that in. Then what we do is just transform the arms. I like to bend them a little, then rotate, you know, the doors 180 degrees around, and then we fold in the front wheels and mirrors like this to actually expose his hands. And finally, we rotate his pretty damn god-fucking awful head. This is Hot Rod? Yeah, not Rod. If anything, this is a pretty good movieverse version of Wildrider from the Stunticons. If only they changed out the black with dark gray on this figure. Or, you know, changed out the red for orange so he at least looked a bit more movie accurate. But oh well. I mean, some people say, oh, you should have gotten DX9 LaHire. I don't do masterpiece style Transformers. I'm more of the regular guy. So, especially when it comes to, you know, like big, expensive third-party masterpiece figures, fuck off. I'm not interested in them. I will say that some of them look good. It's just that I will never own them. And so as comparison with Bumblebee, you can see that not Rod, or Hot Rod, whatever, he's actually pretty damn tall. Pardon the noise outside. But yeah. Even though he's heavily retooled from Lockdown, he's actually a pretty good figure. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, the head sculpt is kind of awful, but it's movie accurate. But yeah, taken by itself, this is a pretty good little design. The head can rotate a full 360 and move up and down and tilt a little bit on the ball joint, so that's good. Guess we already started articulation. The arms are on ball joints, but the cut is actually towards the bottom, which is more so for transformation. So outward motion is usually facilitated by this little hinge in here. So, yeah. There's that. 90-degree elbow, roughly. And bicep swivel. No wrist swivels. And then the legs. You have a... theoretically... you would have a swivel for forwards and backwards and a hinge for outwards, but this figure's still so new to, and I don't know if this is normal, but the hip joints for going forward and backward feel like plastic ratchets, because you can very clearly hear soft clicks, like they lock into place every 45 degrees, which sadly does put quite a bit of a hindrance on his posability. And there's even a little bit of a gear effect on some positions with his thigh swivel, which is positioned right below his knees, which bend just a little bit below 90 degrees. Oh, and the feet can pivot a little. It's a bit of a shame about those hips. I mean, it's almost like a bit of the opposite compared to the TF Prime Shockwave figure. You know, his Voyager class figure in the TF Prime Beast Hunters line, where, you know, he has these weird ratchets in the outward joints for his hips. This is kind of the same. Like, it puts limits on posing. Like, at least you can't get him into very characterful poses, or poses that are worthy of the character or whatever. So yeah. Plus, it's also worth noting that in terms of the transformation that you've seen, this guy is actually the fourth figure to use this design in a way. Because it all started back in 2011, I want to say, with Roadbuster in the Dark of the Moon toy line, who had a similar kind of transformation to that, to this. Then it was continued with Evac. You know, the movieverse version of Evac, who was like some special blue off-roading car, you know, kind of dedicated to a special Transformers theme ride at, like, what, Universal Studio Park or whatever? Then we got locked down in Age of Extinction, and now Hot Rod in The Last Night. So, yeah. I mean, the design is a bit kibbly, but it has stood the test of time fairly well. Plus, you may have noticed on the back of his legs, because he literally reuses Lockdown's lower legs, these calf pieces here that are kind of hollow are indeed so much shaped like the tail lights of an Aventador. Yeah. I mean, I guess the biggest problem with this guy is that he doesn't have any guns. His hands are 5mm compatible, but he just doesn't have any guns by himself. But I have found that it looks surprisingly good wielding the twin arm blasters from my APC Toys Attack Prime, which is a high-grade 1-to-1 skill knockoff of first edition Voyager Optimus from Transformers Prime. I may have to tighten some of his joints, but you get the gist. He actually looks really damn good holding both of those. And on that bombshell, even though he is remarkably terrible as a Hot Rod figure, he is still a pretty good figure in his own right. It's a pretty decent design that's executed remarkably well. And so I don't feel bad about giving this figure a 7 out of 10. It's just, you know, the name is terrible. Holy crap. There we go, that's a better ending shot. Now, speaking of Prime, how about next time we actually get into TF Prime? I mean, we've already covered an animated figure, and now we've covered a Movieverse figure. So, yeah. I mean, some say that TF Prime was basically like elements of animated and the Movieverse coming together. So, then I'm feeling particularly big. So, Next time, we're straying away from Hasbro, and we're indeed venturing off to APC Toys. See you then!